How does supposed to poppin' bees?
What's poppin' bees?
What's poppin' bees? Welcome back to BeerSos.
Okay.
Yeah, no, tell me about how this started. You guys got 160,000 followers. 160,000 followers.
Yeah.
How the hell did that happen?
I gotta give credit to Derek there. He pretty much did all of that.
Well, he started BeerSos. Let's just glaze each other.
Okay, let's glaze each other for the first 10 minutes.
I have a
You're
feeling.
going to have to explain the Gen Z term to me, so I don't know what glaze means.
Oh, glaze. That's kind of what glazing is.
Glaze
It's
is like
That's glazing.
sucking
I'm
up.
gonna learn so much today. I'm really excited about this.
Gen Z. We're gonna
Slang.
do Gen Z slang part 2.
Yeah.
But I think when I was 15, I pretty much knew that I wanted to do this.
Yeah.
And then when I was 16, I decided on the name. I knew the name would be BeerSos. And then 3 years later, when I was 19, my mom bought mics for me for my birthday.
Yeah.
And I started putting everything together and really forming a plan in my head. And then I had Derek on the show, and he was just so fucking good. He was such a good co-host that I was like, dude, you got to do this with me.
Well, it's because we're best friends.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm a good host necessally. It's we're such good friends.
But you guys feed off each other.
Exactly.
Really. Like I said, I'm not just trying to glaze you. But
Nice.
I watched your reels and I was laughing out loud. Like,
Thank you.
There's one you're talking about a sock, you're like the jerking off in a sock or something. How no one does, and I just watch you two kind of bounce off each other, and it's like a song or musicians kind of playing. I always love it. I'm excited to be here to do this.
Yeah, I think it's also like getting in a flow of it as well, and being able to, like, when we record, I know exactly what Derek's thinking, just because I feel like we've done this for 3 years.
You know exactly what he's thinking.
He's thinking about oranges right now. Yeah, because you ate orange this morning. I
I've
know
had
you're
like
thinking.
3 oranges
Yeah,
today.
so I just know that. So it's also getting in that flow of like recording chemistry as well. You know what I mean?
But then when you messaged me, it didn't feel too flowy. You're like, here, study 2 episodes.
Well, no,
of our
because the
podcast.
thing is
Do
I wanted
this,
to,
do
I
this.
wanted
Like,
you
I felt
to
like
get
I was in high school and my teacher was. I was like,
Yeah,
also, wait, were you the one who messaged me?
I was the
first?
one who messaged you.
You were like, you said something. You're like, we've been watching you for a while. We've had our eye on you
No,
for a
yeah,
while.
we
or
did.
something. That's like,
We
what?
did.
Bro, we stalk.
Yeah,
We
we're
stopped.
stalkers,
We've
dude.
had you in mind to be on BeerSos for like months now.
Well, why didn't you pull the trigger?
Because we had catching up to do. We wanted to plan the episodes and like be
Yeah,
more
yeah,
like
yeah.
like
When the
plan
time
the
was
guests.
ready.
And
Yeah.
then when the time was right, you
And the time
slid
was
into
right.
my DM.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
here we are doing
Yeah.
it today.
And now we're here.
Here we go.
This guy slides into DMs. He's
Was I professional?
He's my DM
I tried to be
guy.
professional when I messaged you.
You felt like a guy who wasn't professional trying to be professional.
Fuck!
But I appreciated the effort.
Like, what was
I
it? Was it
appreciate-
like, hey,
Well, I saw your content, and your
Okay.
content didn't
Yeah.
match the
Yeah.
professional vibe. And
Yeah.
so I was like, all right, this guy's like, no, but I had a good feeling about you guys. So
so
you know.
should we play into like the non-professional? Like,
No, I don't think that's the play.
Oh.
Keep whatever you're doing is working. I would keep
Okay.
doing exactly what you two are doing. This
Okay.
is fantastic.
Okay,
But
no complaints at all.
You weren't confused as some hyper professional person, that's for sure.
Okay, because what I do is before I send like a email to like a work
he
person,
didn't even type it. It
like
was
I run it through ChatGPT.
I've never used ChatGPT in my entire life.
It makes my life easier in a bad way.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Like
Let's psychoanalyze. Let's get right into
okay,
it.
let's
Oh
get
my
it right.
God.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my
Okay,
God.
yeah. Oh my god. Okay, let's
Makes
get it.
your life
I'm gonna-
easier in a bad way. I like that.
Because it makes me more lazy because I'm like, oh, ChatGPT will just like write the summary for me. I don't need to do it right now. And then I obviously it's a muscle that I'm activating on more.
Yeah.
And then because ChatGPT can just do it.
But do you think you're lazy? Like, is
No.
Yeah, I don't think you're lazy. I think Gen Z is very interesting to me. I have a lot of Gen Z clients.
Mhm.
What are you smiling about over
Could you
there?
actually hold it a little bit
freaking
closer? Can
out.
you hold it like this?
What's that?
Like, no, that's good. Actually, yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gen Z, you guys are a bit lazy in some ways, but then you're like hyper ambitious, I find. Like, so I'm 35,
Mhm.
and when I was growing up, nobody I knew had any money. in their 20s or
Yeah.
anything like that. Like nobody, and then the social media stuff came along, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of people in your early 20s who have a podcast with 160,000 followers, or have a YouTube, or like, so you have people that you know, or maybe don't know, but are your age, who are millionaires, or I know you guys aren't millionaires, but
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
that's
shit, far
geez,
from it.
you know, careful now.
Yeah, my fault, gang.
Yeah, what was that?
So that wasn't a thing for my people my age, sort of
Yeah.
thing. So we just kind of coasted throughout our 20s, and then our 30s we were kind of like, all right, we should kind of figure out what to do with our lives, sort of thing. And I work with all these Gen Z kids who are like 22 and having existential crises because they're not successful or don't have the life they want. And so the way I see Gen Z is quite a neurotic, anxious generation, but highly ambitious and kind of they kind of go for it, I would say. That's kind of what you were saying. I had this dream since I was 15 years old. I said, fuck it, I went for it. And you accomplished it, or in the process.
In the process of doing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more people saying like, I want to chase this dream, because even like when I was in high school, like the narrative, like the 9 to 5, like there were all my friends were saying like, oh, we don't want to do 9 to 5.
Yeah. And whereas all my friends, that's just what we assumed we were going to do.
Yeah.
Like there was no thought of doing anything else. It's you go, you get your degree, and you get your 9 to 5, and that's what life is. And Gen Z has completely flipped it on its head, being like, I don't really want to work. I don't want to do anything. I want to do what I want to do. I want to make a lot of money. And there are people who are succeeding at doing that. There are people who are failing miserably at doing that as well.
Yeah. I mean, you only hear about the success stories. You don't often hear about those stories of failure because they don't get a chance to tell their stories.
Yeah.
So what do you guys do when you're not doing the podcast?
Derek does BeerSos full time.
Yeah, I do BeerSos full time.
What does that mean though? Like every day you're in here?
Oh no, like as in if I'm not doing the podcast, I'm just like hanging out with my friends.
Awesome.
And then I also
Or with my cat.
That's great. That's great.
And then I do BeerSos, and I also work as a server.
Where?
I'm gonna bleep it out of the show, but I work at so I work there.
Okay, what's that like? Or can we not talk about this?
it's-
It's confidential.
Yeah, it's kind of poppin' bees.
What the hell does that mean?
Poppin' bees. Welcome back to BeerSos. My name is Nicholas Ponsavat,
My name is DRIKZHU, Derek Zoo.
and today we are joined with.
What the fuck just happened?
Get pranked. You have to say that's our intro. You have to say your name now.
Aaron Johnstone.
AKA.
Aaron Johnstone Therapy.
Okay, nice.
Wait,
Sorry, bud.
AKA?
Poppin' Bees with
Yeah.
the Beer Sauce podcast. This is exactly where I thought I would be.
Let's go.
At 35
It
years
smells
old.
like up dog in here, Aaron.
Not gonna do it.
But it's definitely I don't want to work there.
Yeah.
But I'm doing it because right now, like, BeerSos, basically all the money is going into this big business account, and we right now can't funnel that into our personal
Are you
accounts.
incorporated?
Yeah.
Nice.
God,
See, this is what I'm talking about, Gen Z. I didn't know what an incorporation was till like 6 months ago. And I've had my own practice for 4 years. Gen Z, you guys know this shit at a young age, and you're on it. And don't get me wrong, you're an incredibly flawed generation.
Oh yeah.
But there are things like this that you guys are on. Like your self-awareness as well. Like I didn't know what an attachment style was until I was 29 years old.
Wait,
I had one and was acting one out and, you know, self-sabotaging and all that good stuff.
and gaslighting?
No, I was never much of a gaslighter. We'll get into that though.
That's my boy. That's my boy. That's
Are
my
you
boy.
a gaslighter? Actually, I saw a clip of you talking about. That's another one I was laughing out loud with. But I talk to these. I work with adults now, but when I started, I worked with teenagers, and these like 17-year-olds would come in and they're talking about their relationship and their attachment style and how them and their partner need to communicate better. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, like I didn't know any of this stuff till I was in my late 20s. So
Why do you think that Gen Z are more capable of this now?
that's a really good question. I think it's out there. It's on TikTok.
Yeah.
It's on Instagram. That sort of stuff.
Or even if you have like a relationship problem, you just put that into Google, put Reddit at the end of it, and there's like 30 people that are like, here's what you do.
I think every generation is more I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just going to say it anyways. But
Yeah.
I think every generation is more self-aware than their parents. Okay. And so I'm raised by boomers, and boomers were raised by people who went to World War II sort of thing. And so
Shell shock.
Yeah, but your attachment style, that sort of language. What was that look? That was funny.
No, it's just shell shock.
And
Shell
so,
shock.
Yeah. So
He just had to
it's
say
just
it.
the natural evolution of things plus social media, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like if you get on the right side, because the algorithm like knows what you're looking at.
Oh, yeah.
You watch one therapy TikTok,
Yeah.
like Therapy Jeff.
No.
Oh, he's just
No,
like,
but Aaron Johnstone
Oh, yeah.
therapy,
Fuck
bro.
therapy, Jeff.
No, fuck
Aaron
Yeah.
Johnstone
No,
You're
therapy.
promoting your
No, my
guest.
bad, my bad.
Don't promote Jeff.
Come on, bro.
I mean, Aaron Johnstone therapy.
There we go.
Yeah,
Keep
there we
hammering
go.
that home to the audience.
Therapy. Fuck therapy, Jeff.
We
But
don't need him. We don't need
there's
him.
just
What about
so-
him? No, tell me
it's
about
just like
therapy, Jeff.
he pops on a For You page like once a day, and there's so much knowledge just like being already fed to you because you're already on your phone
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
what I found is with my stuff. The one I posted something about a breakup
Mhm.
that got pretty popular. I got more clients from that post than every other post I've done combined, kind of thing. And so it's just about relatable stuff. Like everyone, not everyone, I guess. Well, yeah, basically everyone can relate to a heartbreak or a breakup. Is that the one that you guys saw that you reached out on, or no? You've been stalking me for months.
We've been like stalking you.
Here's how we've
like
been on it.
before Derek was like, "Damn man, I don't know how to set up the angle." I was like, "No, he's gonna
What
lean
angle?
because I know you're a leaner, like for the camera."
no,
because
I'm not
you're a
even
big
joking.
leaner.
So I went on this podcast this weekend, this one that I told you about that had a cat
Yeah.
that was creepily stroking the entire time. And it was the second time I went, no, it's the third time. That's the one where they didn't record the second one.
Yeah.
But anyways, the first time I went on, I'd never been on a podcast before. And I just progressively started sinking more and more into the couch kind of thing. And I didn't notice till after the fact, but they were making fun of me when I went back on there. They said, you got to sit up straight this time. I can already feel it that I'm.
No, this is
Yeah,
chill
yeah.
vibes,
but
bro.
The thing is,
Chill vibes.
I just called you bro. Like the vibes are
I
so
like
chill.
it. Call me bro. I'm a fan of Gen Z. I embrace
Yeah.
Gen Z. I got nothing against Gen Z.
Okay,
Use
let's go.
all the slang you want.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
lean
So,
into the Gen Z.
Going
mess.
into my house, because if you guys don't know, we film BeerSos in my. Is this a basement? Could you
Yeah, this
count
is a
as
basement.
What else would it be?
But it's also like when people think of basement, they're like, he's living in his mom's basement. What a pussy! But it's like, guys,
That's what I'm doing,
No,
dickhead.
no, but there's like there's a window.
You got a window.
There's a big
four
one.
walls.
What more can a man ask for?
No, but
Yeah.
okay, fine, it's a basement.
It's a
We film in
basement.
my mom's basement. Okay.
Yeah.
Walking in here, I don't know how powerful a therapist is. I've not been in therapy in like 2 years, but can you tell anything about me from how I live my life? My physical.
I'm so
I'm
excited
not
for
going to
this.
be as arrogant to assume that I can tell a lot about you by
Yeah.
coming in here, but I would say it's very cluttered in here,
Yeah.
very chaotic. And I think so imagine on one side of the spectrum is order and one side is chaos.
Wait.
Okay. And I think people fall differently
Yeah.
on that spectrum kind of thing. And someone who's very orderly, you'll walk in, everything's neat, everything's organized sort of thing. They're usually pretty boring, those type of people, though, not that interesting, right? And then other people are more chaotic, and that's kind of the way their mind works and the way they live their life, and they're very kind of all over the place. And I would say, I made a comment, I went into your washroom and it was fucking chaos in there.
Whoa. But that was.
I mean,
you know
There
what?
was
You know
the
what's,
amount of objects
You know what's
in your
fuck-
bathroom.
you know what's
My
fucked up?
bathroom has a toothbrush, toothpaste, hand soap, and a towel.
But what about
skincare.
your skincare?
I'm not a big skincare guy.
What about your eyebrow?
Maybe I
tweezer?
should be, but what's that?
What about an eyebrow tweezer? What about nail clippers?
These are all things that have never even occurred to me, but I will reflect on that and maybe we'll see.
Yeah,
Maybe this podcast will change me.
But I think the way Derek does it is just not orderly at all. It's
What do you
just-
mean?
Like, dude, you know what's gross? I went to go pee, and you know where Derek puts his tongue scraper?
no.
On the toilet.
But why do you
On the
Why,
toilet.
but why do you assume I use it on my tongue and not to clean my bathroom?
But dude, it's just, okay. You know what? Okay, you know what?
Fair.
No, yeah,
Fair.
no, yeah.
When
yeah.
you after using a toothbrush, you're telling me you throw it out instantly? No, you use it as a
But
scrubber.
you know what? There's nothing wrong with being a bit chaotic. Like
Yeah.
creative
Yeah, bro.
people. Would you describe yourself as creative?
I would say so.
Yeah, well, you're doing a podcast, these sorts of things. Like the artist is usually like that, right? Because the artist thinks outside the box. The artist lives in kind of that dimension of chaos. And we were talking earlier about the 9 to 5. The artist doesn't fall into the 9 to 5. Now, the artist usually doesn't have a driver's license and hasn't.
No,
paid
I do.
Yeah, but they
I don't though.
They haven't paid their taxes and their apartment's messy and these sorts of things, but they're usually brilliant and hyper creative and can produce great creative work. But in terms of the kind of organized
Yeah.
day-to-day sort of stuff, that's where they struggle. And then the person who's hyper organized and hyper orderly and sort of thing, they tend not to be very creative or that interesting. And
Damn.
that might not be fair.
I feel like that's
You're
me
creative.
doing.
You're
Well,
creative.
I feel like the thing
You're not
is like I feel like the me and Derek are kind of opposites when it comes to organization. Like I said this before we started recording. Like you should see my calendar. Derek knows I'm the most organized man ever, bro.
But that's what probably makes it work between you.
Whoa! Give me
Okay.
credit. I'm so organized. I
You're
organize.
organized, but to say that you walk into your house and you're like some
No,
organized
my calendar,
legend.
my calendar.
Okay,
Just your calendar.
I'm so organized, guys. Like
It's your own thing.
I'm more organized than you, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. You feel like you're hyper organized because you come in here every day to this chaotic
Yeah,
environment.
actually,
and
the
then-
bar is low.
Yeah,
The bar is
yeah,
low.
Yeah.
But to act like if I walk into your room, you don't have trinkets everywhere either. That's wrong.
yeah,
You have
yeah.
your like Lego Star Wars like
Dude.
Yeah,
Darth
what do you
Vader
guys-
poster
tell
from like
me
ninth
about
grade.
what are you guys into? What do you teach me something about yourself, or tell me something about your guys' self?
What am I
Besides
into?
hosting podcasts,
I'm really
and doing
into this guy called Pete Davidson.
Oh yeah,
If you've ever heard of him,
I have. What do you like about him?
I like that he is like very vocal about how his mental health is,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is like deteriorating.
Yeah,
But then he also goes on to make people laugh.
yeah,
He's made me laugh. He has a movie that I just love because it's about how he has these struggles as a kid and growing up.
yeah.
And it's sort of like a coming of age thing where he takes responsibility of his things.
What's the movie?
King of Staten Island.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You got to give it a watch. It's like Derek is like kind of. I feel like that movie means so much to Derek, because he sees himself in Pete. Like,
Yeah.
like in the
Yeah.
movie, and this also happened to Pete in real life. Like his dad died. Derek's dad killed
Yeah.
himself.
Okay,
No way.
that was my lore. You're dropping my lore.
And-
Is that a joke or is that
No,
No,
serious?
it's
real.
true. It's
Oh.
true. It's true.
Yeah.
I want to. We could talk a bit about that, but I also want to be respectful. We
I don't know.
wanna-
I'm
no.
open about it. That's
When did that happen?
I was 10.
Yeah. Are you comfortable? Like I really.
Oh no,
don't-
he
I-
goes into it all the time.
But you guys are laughing.
But I've
about
never been into it
Like this.
with Aaron Johnstone therapy.
No, but I also actually want to respect
Yes,
you and
yes.
your kind of boundaries and whatnot because you're talking about, but you're doing it in like a humorous way, which is completely fine. But
That's the only way I feel comfortable doing
Yeah.
it in a sense is like,
I
haha,
imagine.
knock knock. Who's
Yeah.
there?
Not your dad.
But to talk about it in a serious way,
hilarious and awful.
talk about it in a serious way is like somewhat uncomfortable in a sense
Have you
because
ever
I
done
also
it?
see. Have I
Talked
done it?
about it in a serious way.
Have I talked about it in a serious way with you?
Yes, but
Yeah.
it's obviously like sprinkled in throughout. We joke about it all the time.
Yeah.
But he does bring it up sometimes in more serious manners. It's just like not something we often do.
Yeah.
And I feel like Derek really like we it's in the BeerSos like summary. We use humor as a coping mechanism all the time.
Yeah.
So we bring it up in a joking manner, but the amount of times that we talk about it in a serious way is more like few and far between.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm not here to be your therapist or do anything like that. But if you were a client or whatnot, like that's common.
Yeah.
People will come to therapy and they'll talk about something. The content of what they're talking about is absolutely awful, but their body will laugh. They'll say, "Oh, my dad beat the shit out of me," ha ha ha, or something.
We do that all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah.
No, I've
And
said,
it's like,
I've
and,
actually said
but
that.
no, maybe you're doing it consciously or whatnot. But when
Yeah.
people do it in therapy, they're not choosing to do that. And I always think of it as it's like something in them's throwing water on a fire. It's like, okay, we're getting the topic of dad or my ex or something that creates some sort of emotional discomfort. And so when they go to talk about it unconsciously or automatically, their body will do this thing to kind of lighten the mood sort of thing. And it's quite interesting
I
to
think
see people do
if
that.
I think about talking about with him or any of our friends, they are like our relationship is more like funny, jokey. We're good friends, but like you have this like aura.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have this very dominant aura, not in like a bad way, but I see you as very professional.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe. But I also, that's what I like about you. Like, I like humor too. I'm not saying don't
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
sarcastic or
Of
don't
course.
do humor today or anything.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I loved about
That's my
it.
thing.
But, yeah, maybe I am. I don't know. I don't really think
Well,
about myself like that.
I
to be
see him as
honest.
very professional. So to like, if I were to talk about it now, it is significantly more uncomfortable. I'm not saying I don't want to talk about it.
Well, I'll ask you a question.
Yeah.
And it's the most vague, general question ever. And you just answer it however
love
your mind.
questions.
Okay, so that happened to you when you were 10. That's absolutely huge and devastating. How do you think that affected you? And it probably affected you in a million different ways,
Yeah.
a lot of which you're not even conscious of, but just how does your brain,
Yeah.
what answer does your brain first come up with that question?
Anger.
Anger.
I was such an angry kid. I was yelling all the time, like on the internet at my mom.
Yeah.
And like, I would say I'm an angry person now. I don't
Is
think
that right?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm definitely an angry person now.
Yeah. Where does that come out? Like, you don't present anger to me. I'm not saying I know you better than you know yourself, but so it doesn't come out in here. It doesn't come out around Nico, I'm guessing.
I would say
think so.
irritation comes out with you.
Yeah.
My fault, gang.
You're good. You're good.
So does it come out just in your day-to-day life?
In
or?
like romantic relationships, the irritation's more. With my mom, it's a lot more. I do live. My mom has a boyfriend that I highly dislike.
Yeah.
So to hear his voice makes me angry. Like this is very stereotypical, but I am a wall hitter.
Oh yeah.
Like I
like
will
you get angry and hit walls.
I will hit a wall from time to time.
What don't you like about your mom's boyfriend? Or and if at any point I'm taking this in a direction we don't want to go, just stop me and we'll...
he's too similar to my dad.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I see myself in those two. So I guess it is triggering for him to be, I don't know, yelling at my mom and be like, wow, that's
There's
so
a quote by this. Do you guys know who Carl Jung is?
Carl Jung, never heard of
He's
him.
the man. He's a psychoanalyst, long since dead.
Carl Jung therapy.
Yeah. Well, he was like from the early 1900s. He had some quote I'm going to butcher. I forget what it says exactly, but it's that you tend to get triggered or upset in the qualities in other people that are in you and that you're not at peace with, right? And that happens as like when you become a therapist, what they don't teach you is that your clients are going to trigger the shit out of you. But what's interesting is to examine which ones do. So some narcissistic asshole can come in and be a client, and I'm not triggered at all by that sort of thing, because I hope that I don't have those qualities. But then if there's something that I don't like about myself that I see in a client, not these days, but when I was starting out, it gets to you. And so maybe something similar is going on there with your mom and her boyfriend or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then they might just be genuinely annoying
It is annoying. I think also, I mean, this isn't surprising, but when he does talk loud, I think also just Chinese people just talk loud.
Yeah.
That's something that I can't rationalize, but when he talks loud, to me, it's automatically a negative thing.
Yeah.
Because my dad and my mom would argue all the time. So even like when he talks loud, like it's like it was so bad when I was like 19 during COVID doing school at home. But that would be like that would send me into like this like physical heat of frustration. Like I would get hot. I'd be like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
And then I would get so mad.
And then you punch walls or you lash out at them, or what do you do with that anger?
I don't confront them about it. I used to hit myself in the head when I was like 19.
Yeah, no, a lot of people do. You know, like we're going to get a little dark here and whatnot, but you know, people have neurotic symptoms or symptoms of cutting themselves or hitting themselves or doing that logically make no sense. You go, why would a human being punch themselves in the face? It's not a logical.
It feels
it's not. Well, that's exactly right. It's a release of emotion, right? And so there's this bottling up of emotion, and emotions aren't just these fluffy and fake things that exist in our mind. They're energies in our body, and we need to do something with them. And so you say, I don't confront them or I don't talk to them about it, or I don't express it. And that's what I see a lot of in my job is people have a lot of anger in them, but they don't know, probably because they grew up in an environment where they were punished for doing so, but they don't know how to communicate or express it in a somewhat healthy way. And so the energy of that ends up with them punching a hole in the wall or cutting their wrist or doing something destructive like that. Yeah. But a lot of people have a very bad relationship with anger. Yeah. Meaning they do not feel like anger it's not ideal, but anger is your body preparing itself to someone wrongs you, someone crosses a line, your mom's boyfriend's acting like an asshole, and your body is preparing you to say, hey, shut the fuck up. Stop that. Stop disrespecting my mom. Something like that. It's preparing you to push back, right? That's why you've evolved to have anger. And so when you don't do anything with it, it's like a volcano. It's just this buildup, and then it's got to go somewhere. Yeah.
And then like I do like 50 push-ups, and it's like, wow, I didn't even know I could do 50 push-ups. Like that was awesome.
Yeah, that's why you're so jacked.
I mean, do you think that if you hold a bunch of anger inside like that, do you think it can manifest like physically as well?
100%. I think
like you think Derek's gonna like get like lung cancer?
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Well, there's an interesting book called When the Body Says No, written by a doctor who worked in palliative care, who worked with all these people with chronic diseases and chronic illnesses. And the thesis or the theory of the book was emotional repression will lead to your body developing some sort of condition. I'm not trying to scare you, but yes, you're definitely going to get lung cancer.
I'm fucked.
Here's what I think happens. So you repress your emotions. You're all bottled up, and it's either going to go one of two ways. It's either going to explode like a volcano, and you're going to punch a wall, or you're going to do, something like that, or something in you is going to shut down, meaning your body can't stay at that elevated state for so long, and so something's going to shut the system down, and then you're going to become depressed. So your emotional range is going to be like that. Instead of it being like that and you freaking out and doing a bunch of crazy shit, you're going to get stuck in a condensed emotional state. And to me, that's what depression is. Depression isn't usually, I'm so sad. Depression is, I don't want to get up in the morning. I have no positive emotion. I don't want to get up and go to work. I don't want to get up and go to the BeerSos podcast.
It's more mute, right?
Yeah, you're numb, you're apathetic. It's you just don't have any vitality or juice. Yeah.
Jeez,
Dude,
man.
I should totally go to therapy.
Well, the thing is
You
because
go to Jeff's therapy.
no, fuck that guy. Because Derek went to therapy like 2 years ago.
I did.
But then we've discussed multiple times of him going back, and like I don't think it's something that you've really seen interested in
Until now.
Well, I think therapy is all about finding the right fit. So therapy can be life-changing and amazing. Therapy can be a complete waste of time and money. It's usually somewhere in the middle, right?
For me, it was a complete waste of time and money because
Exactly.
I don't think I was. For me, I went because I had the story that was messed up, but I don't think I was self-aware enough to realize, or even for those things that my story came, or like the negative things that my story comes with to actually manifest because I was like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even angry at that time.
No, I stopped working. Occasionally I'll work with a teenager, but they're usually a very old soul. But I stopped working with teenagers. I liked them and whatnot, but they're just not in a place in their life to really reflect in that sort of thing. So it's more felt. The 17-year-old who's dealing with, the emotions associated with his dad killing himself is still struggling and whatnot, but usually the self-awareness piece isn't there to really do too much. They got to go out and play it out in the world until they get to a point. So, but a lot of times anger is a secondary emotion. And so what that means is there's a primary emotion that's more painful or difficult to deal with, and anger emerges kind of as a buffer from that. And so a lot of times people are hurt and sad, but when we're hurt and sad, we feel weak and small, and it's more empowering to be angry. And none of this happens consciously. I'm just saying this is just how the human organism orients itself. But anger will swoop in because it's easier to punch a hole in the wall than it is to really dive into the sadness of your dad killing himself when he was 10.
I'm speechless, sir.
He's not bro anymore.
Then there's this guy laughing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've never seen Derek speechless.
He's
bro.
not bro anymore. He's sir. Yeah, that's agreed. What about your dad, bro?
Nah, fuck out of here, bro.
What's the one of you has mommy issues? One of you has looking.
We both got
tell
daddy
me-
and
okay,
mommy
Nate,
issues.
Tell me about your mommy issues. Tell me about your mom.
You go.
No. We just dived into.
okay.
We just dived into
you can't do
Derek's
this.
soul. We need to. We need to make you uncomfortable.
I
a little
think
bit.
motherfucker.
my mom's single. I live with her. I've lived with her for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Just like me and her. And she's more like on the lines of like a classic Asian parent. So I grew up like with a helicopter parent.
Yeah.
And if she texts me and I'm out with my friends and I don't respond in a minute, she spams calls me like
I've heard that
20
before.
times.
Yeah.
And then she like thought I died. It's like I didn't text you back for like 5 minutes. I didn't die. And then that's like just growing up with a helicopter parent like that, or like a tiger parent. I don't know what the right
Why do
word
you think
is.
she's like that?
I know why she's like that. I don't know if I'll leave this in, but
Fucking Christ.
yeah.
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 So you guys both have a lot of pain, or maybe that's part of what's connected you.
Trauma bond.
That's
Trauma bond, bros.
That's a real thing. And the pain didn't directly happen to you. The pain was passed on.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that energy or that pain is with your mom,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets passed on to you. So it's not directly,
Yeah.
you get what I'm trying to say.
Like,
but
I mean, she's a person. She's like a human being. She was not
I would
able to
assume
deal with
so.
that. And
Yeah.
then that obviously projected onto me.
Yeah.
But the way that impacted me was more just frustration. And like, I just a general like dislike for her now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's still with you.
Yeah, it's still with me. Like I don't even have her saved as a contact in my phone because it's straight up triggering for me to get a text and then see I used to save her in my contacts as mom, right? Like as most people do. But I had to delete it because it was triggering to see like the M when she texted me because I was like, fuck, like I started like freaking out.
So you've already kind of answered this, but again, same sort of question. You could take this a million different directions, but just trust whatever your mind produces as an answer. But how do you think it's affected you having a mom like that?
I think it's made me really obedient. It made me so extremely obedient. Like it is very rare that I'm late to an event, that I am not shown up there 5 minutes early, that I'm not fully prepared, that I don't know exactly what's going on at all times. It's maybe very obedient. And like,
Get me that water.
this one? Oh,
Good job, bro.
See, that's the brilliance of you two. That's the brilliance of you two. No, I'm serious, because I don't even think you guys consciously know what you're doing. But there's a vibe to your podcast, and right as we were getting into some heavy shit, and then it's like one will come rescue the other, but one will come in, and I like it. Keep doing it. I'm not saying to stop doing it, but as soon as we get to that vulnerability, I think you guys probably care a lot about each other and take care of each other, and you can feel the other person getting vulnerable, and one will jump in with a comment just to throw that water on the fire. And that's completely fine.
but you see how I instantly I didn't even know he was joking at first. I went, oh, which one?
Yeah.
And I pointed towards my water bottle. Like it's that level of pleaserness and obedience that I think I've like mastered.
I don't think I know. We grow up in a certain childhood environment, and I don't think we really fully appreciate the degree to which we're shaped by our childhood. Okay? And we get wounded. And so we can use the word trauma, or that word's too big and dramatic for some people, but all trauma is to me are wounds that take place early on. And it's like we get emotionally stuck at that age. Not entirely. So how old are you?
I'm 22.
You're 22. And so in a lot of ways you are a 22-year-old. You seem to have an old soul, and you're doing a lot for a 22-year-old, right? Yeah. So I'm not saying you're immature in any but let's say there's this 7-year-old little boy in there that's still a part of you that's scared of getting in trouble. That's scared of, oh shit, Aaron Johnstone therapy's coming. We forgot the SD card, and oh my god, is he going to be mad at me?
No, exactly. And I snapped into that, and it's like I don't want people to be mad at me. I feel like I've tried a lot to work on that.
So keep going.
Oh no, like I go to therapy every Friday.
Yeah.
Friday 1:30 to 2:30, I fight my fucking demons.
That's where you're at. Friday. What a fun Friday.
Yeah, it started off the weekend right.
Nobody hit Nico up on Friday from 1 to 2.
Nobody DM me.
He's busy.
But,
he's getting into it.
I've done a lot to work on that, but it's obviously like it'll take maybe a lifetime to be okay with somebody disliking me or somebody being mad at me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's this quote I like by same guy I mentioned earlier, Carl Jung. Carl Jung, your boy. Shout out to Carl Jung Therapy. He's long since dead, so I don't think he has an Instagram account. But he says, what you need most is where you least want to look. And so there's another quote I like by a guy named Joseph Campbell. He says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. So both those quotes to me are saying whatever it is that you're afraid of or that triggers you, it's like, that's what you need. That's what you need to go. And so let's say there's a little boy in there. There's a part of you that's scared of getting in trouble. Yeah. That's scared of disappointing people. And so the strategy that you've come up with is to organize your life and to operate in the world in a way in which you never disappoint anyone. And that's not a terrible strategy. Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you being professional, or trying to, at least in my DMs, or, showing up on time and whatnot. But also, in order to transcend that part of yourself, or that trauma, or however we want to frame it, it's not going to be done by you becoming absolutely perfect and never disappoint. It's going to be the exact opposite. You're going to need to disappoint people, right?
And I think like
Show
Like-
up late next time.
Yeah,
That I'll show up late. I'll show up
Leave
late.
me sitting on the curb for an extra
Shit.
15 minutes. Saying, where the fuck are these guys?
Like it's I'm trying to work on like not taking things personally,
yeah.
and especially like on the internet. I'm learning.
Yeah, what's that like? How are you guys? You guys are superstars, 160,000 followers.
Bro is hyping us up
You
way
must-
too
You
much.
must get
161.
chirped relentlessly.
Yeah.
We just did an episode on this, but we both have agreed. Well, he agreed before me. You know,
Yeah.
I had the more willpower here, Aaron.
Yeah.
But we were like, no more reading TikTok and Instagram comments.
Oh yeah, it really gets to you, hey?
Yeah,
It does.
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Like if I read it, like if I
Look at
wake
this.
up,
Yeah, go ahead.
read a comment, but it's like, or I'll post something and I know it's sort of controversial.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know why, but I'll get in the shower and be like, I have to know what they're saying. I have to know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And then I'll go on a date, but the whole time I'm like, the internet is calling me a pussy right now. And it like makes me upset. And then I'll like, I will
Do you feel like
bring
a
it out.
pussy?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But that's, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You know, if someone, usually when we're getting triggered by something that someone said, it's because we feel it's true.
Yeah.
So if someone says, "Hey, you're a crackhead," you're
Oh,
not.
no,
You're not. You're gonna be like, "Okay, well, that's not true." So what? You know, and I'm not saying you're a pussy. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
yeah.
but there's somewhere probably in there that reads that and it connects, or it brings up that kind of feeling you have about yourself.
Yeah. I mean, most of the hate that when we say hate, we're not even saying like really outlandish, crazy comments. But if someone just calls us, like if someone commented like these guys are insecure, what would that make you feel? Like that would make me kind of triggered by it.
I mean, like it's true, so I don't really get bothered by it. But there's me being insecure isn't an insecurity I have, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, no,
That's my thing.
But it's like if somebody called me ugly, I would literally take that personally,
Okay.
and I'd be like, "Fuck, that hurt my feelings."
uh-huh.
So there's different jabs that hurt more than other
Exactly.
ones.
That's exactly right. Well, I think of it like this, like, so I think of in terms of wounds, I think people have emotional wounds. Okay. So imagine I poke you in the shoulder, which would be a weird,
Aaron, it tickles,
which
Aaron.
would be a weird thing to do.
Yeah.
And you're not wounded there. Okay. So it's just a little poke.
Yeah,
That's the crackhead.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have much of a reaction. It doesn't hurt. But if you're wounded there and it's infected and scabbing over, and I poke you there, you're going to have a big reaction
Yeah, and it's
to
gonna-
it. It's
yeah.
going to hurt.
Mhm.
And so that's people are like that emotionally. And so when someone's getting triggered, that's essentially usually what's happening. They're getting poked in a place that's very sensitive and vulnerable.
yeah, something they're already conscious about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do when you get triggered like that? Like what's your process by dealing with that?
What it used to be was freak out.
Nice.
Now it's
Nice.
more really like, because I have a lot of anxiety. Like I've talked about this on the show before. Like I have like such bad anxiety. It's like actually insane.
Well, sorry to interrupt.
yeah?
I was just going to say, if you grow up in an environment with a mom who's freaking out at you about every little thing,
Mhm.
your nervous system's going to be on high alert.
Yeah.
It's not your destiny to struggle with anxiety your entire life, but in your early 20s, you're going to be an anxious person.
Oh,
Because I'm serious, you had to be on high alert because our relationship with our parents, especially the mom,
Mhm.
is the most important relationship. It ensures our survival. And so, you know, if our mom or our dad or our parents are on us and hypercritical of us and whatnot, that little kid's nervous system is preparing for threat and danger all the time because
Yeah.
any little thing you do wrong could result in you being punished or not getting love or this or that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And so the nervous system is learning how safe is the world, and what the world is your home essentially, or the environment you grow up in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I've literally had to sleep nights at Derek's house before because I got kicked out, and I've had to
my boy.
I've literally had to pack a suitcase.
Why? Why would you get like?
Because like I used to like, no lie, like my mom used to like threaten to kick me out of the house like once like every 2 months.
Yeah.
And I would like to say, self-reflecting on myself as a teenager, I was actually a really good kid.
Yeah. When I ask why, I'm not saying what did you do. I mean, my assumption is that your mom is fucking up there and shouldn't be threatening to kick her son out of the house.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. Like, you would just do some typical teenage thing and she couldn't handle it.
No, not even. I wouldn't even say typical. Like I was like I had my first drink when I was 19.
Yeah.
Like I was legally allowed to. I never smoked weed up until I was like 20 years old.
Yeah.
You probably go home and not even swear.
No, I didn't. Like if I used to say fuck in front of my mom, like
Yeah.
I would get shit on.
Yeah.
But it's like I'll give a little bit of attitude and then boom, I'm grounded for a month.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like these groundings are like strict Asian mom groundings.
It seems like it's different experiences, but some similarities. And it seems like you responded with anger and you responded with anxiety.
Like I'll just take the punch because I rather not parry it and then punch them back in the face.
I feel like I'm an overcompensator.
How so?
Let's say comment is like, wow, don't quit your day job.
Too late.
I'll like force myself, and I'll even like talk to people and be like, I'm so successful. Like respect me. Right? And I have to like put this delusion in my head, like it's like, I guess, an ego thing, but I have to be like, I'm so successful. I've started this, like, we started doing video 10 months ago. It's 160K.
Well, yeah, well, you guys are. And what I find is a lot of high achieving, successful people are traumatized.
Let's go.
It's usually the case. It's like, it's that not feeling good enough or that pain that pushes the person to go attempt to feel good enough. Right. And it's like, to see me, hear me. I want people to know my name. I want people to respect me, sort of thing. A lot of times that's rooted in some sort of feeling of worthlessness or shame. Hopefully, as you go along with this and it continues to build, it can be fueled by just, your love of doing it and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's not from this place, but maybe that's where it starts. Maybe this whole thing starts with you guys not feeling good enough or having your insecurities, as we all do, some people more than others, and saying, fuck it, we're going to start a podcast, we're going to get ourselves out there, and we're going to be somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the main thing I want is from this is, like, honestly, just respect. I want people to respect me really bad. So when people are like, don't quit your day job, or like, if someone's, I don't know, like, oh, they're not funny. It's like, you can think I'm not funny, but to say like my podcast is bad, like I feel
It's a great podcast.
Thank you.
I know it really is.
Like I feel
really
so
is.
disrespected that I have to like,
But that's your wound.
yeah, and I have to comment and be like, I'm more successful than you'll ever be.
Yeah. That's the 10-year-old boy.
Oh, damn, come on, man.
No.
kidding.
Be nice to the 10-year-old
Yeah,
boy.
be nice to
But
me.
You want ice cream?
Because what a normal response to that is fuck. That's annoying that he said that, or I don't like the feeling of that person saying that, and then kind of going on with your day and maybe it lingering in your head a bit. But when it's a response that's intense, that intense, and you're going out there and attacking some random person, to me, that's a 10-year-old boy, who you're acting from that place within yourself. And that's okay. That's just where you're at. But
I'm 10 years old.
No, yeah. And
with a trauma response, what you find is the emotion is usually appropriate for the situation, but the intensity of the emotion is too high given the context at which it's taking.
so it amplifies basically.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course you're angry when someone makes a comment like that, but maybe, someone who doesn't have the same wounds as you would have a 3 out of 10 anger response where you're having a 9 out of 10. And that usually means it's the little boy, or it's the wound, or the scabs being ripped off kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I feel like it's really interesting because I feel like, and let me know if I'm wrong here, Derek, like, I feel like Derek leans one way with how did people like this reel?
Yeah.
Or whatever he posted. And then the way I lean is like, do I think it's good enough? Which usually I never think it does. I never think it is good enough. And I will spend
Go ahead.
Literally last night, I was up until 2:30 a.m. making sure that Friday's episode was perfect.
Yeah.
And that is like a very reoccurring thing where I am just up making sure it's perfect.
What I find is people's personality or their nature, the way they operate in the world, is usually their blessing and their curse, right? And so that's probably a key to your success and part of the reason which this has been so successful. And that's probably one of the best things about you. That's probably your strength, that you have that attention to detail and you are focused on these things and you're giving it all. That's also probably where you're vulnerable to your mental health stuff, let's say. And so everyone's like that. It's like whatever the best thing is about them is also the thing that's where they're gonna get got.
Like
Yeah.
I don't really I think I've started caring less what other people think of the episode, and it's like, what do I think? Because if I think it's good but people think it's bad, I still think it's good.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no, I literally recorded, I edited it, like it's
That's
perfect.
what I do with my stuff. Not that I'm anywhere on the same scale as you guys, but that's what I do. I have there's a bunch of reels I have that I don't post.
Yeah.
That I know I could whatever get some clients from, but that's all I go through. I just go, do I like this? Do I think it's
Yeah.
interesting? And some things I post on like death and stuff like that. I'm like, no one's going to care about this, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah,
so
and
I
like
post it.
I think I just hold it to such an unbelievably high standard. It's insane. Like my logic is, we dropped out of school to do this. We literally bet on ourselves. It needs to be perfect.
Yeah, well, I would say that's that little boy.
Yeah,
And the
damn.
little, well, the
It's
little,
always the little boy.
the-
He's such a little bitch.
no,
We should kill our
that's-
little boys.
No. See, first of all, the little boy was punished when he wasn't perfect.
Damn.
Okay.
Fuck you, Dad.
The little boy had love withheld when he wasn't perfect. And so that's where that
Fucking mom.
pattern's coming. But this is what people always do. Okay. So this is the concept of the inner child. And men tend to cringe at this, but I've never met a human being who doesn't resonate with the concept of having a little boy or a little girl in there
Yeah.
that's kind of steering the ship at times, right?
Mhm.
People always, however the child was treated, people in adulthood will treat their inner child in the same way.
Yes.
And so if the boy was hyper criticized by his parents, the adult's going to come in when he's 24 or 22 and be hypercritical of that little boy, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think I fully agree with you there.
And you
Like,
just right there, I know you were kidding,
Yeah.
but there's probably some truth behind it. You said, damn, the little boy's a little bitch.
I mean, he is a little bitch, but it's fine because he's 10.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And imagine a 10-year-old there, 10-year-old Nico, and imagine he's scurrying around trying to make things perfect. And 22-year-old Nico comes in and says, stop being a little bitch. What's going to happen to that 10-year-old? What's going to happen to that 10-year-old boy's anxiety?
Oh, it's going to go up.
Yeah. And so the way in which you treat that part of yourself, if you want to think of it just practically, because men hate this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
When you say to a man, you got to love your inner child, you got to treat yourself, they start to cringe.
Yeah.
And they say, fuck that. Women just intuitively understand it. And they go, oh, yeah, I get it. And they go ahead. But if you think of it practically, that part of you is anxious and feels it needs to be a perfectionist. And if you come at it with that energy, if you're being a little bitch, or I need to destroy you, or if only you weren't around, then I would be a thriving, confident sex god. I'm a 22-year-old.
sex
god, Aaron.
It would be
Yeah.
3 inches bigger.
Yeah, but when you come at the little boy with that sort of energy, imagine it actually is a 10-year-old little boy. His anxiety is going to go through the roof. And so the symptoms that you don't like in yourself just get reinforced. And so
Yeah.
people get stuck in this loop of hating their anxiety or being anxious about being anxious sort of thing. They go, why can't I fix this problem? And that's part of it.
The issue is then it gets validated because all this work pays off.
Yes,
All that work
exactly
staying up till 3 a.m.
Oh, yeah,
pays
yeah,
off.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
it gets validated and I keep doing it. And it gets worse each
well,
time.
I'm a workaholic. I take days off if I have a friend's wedding or something like
Yeah.
that, right? But I've worked 7 days a week since February. With the exception of like there's something that I can't miss, like a wedding or yada yada yada. And on the weekends I work less hours, but I took pride in that. And I would brag to people about being a workaholic. I thought it made me a tough guy or something like that. And it pays off literally in doing that. But what starts to happen is my body shuts down. Like my body will literally, I told you I have a bad back and whatnot. I'm popping muscle relaxants before I come here, just buzzing on over the counter,
Somebody give me a Zyn.
Yeah. And it gets to a point where I can't sit in my chair and do therapy. And I would just power through that. And then it's terrible. And so what I'm learning in my life is balance and sounds like you're going to have to learn something similar, but it's not about doing a 180 and just, okay, let's just put out some shitty podcasts and I don't care whether it's good or not. It's about finding that right balance of, no, I want to be damn good at what I do.
Yeah.
And I want to have attention to detail, but it's 2:30 in the morning and I need to go to bed. and it's probably good enough.
And I deserve one video.
We've done like each episode of BeerSos releases on Friday, and we've had moments, or I've had moments
before or after your therapy session.
before.
Wow.
So that's the fucking issue. That's the fucking issue.
No wonder. I don't think it's any
And then-
coincidence that you've booked your
Yeah.
sessions weekly for
Yeah.
Friday at 1:30.
Yeah, yeah. I guess you're right. I didn't even mean to do that. Whoopsies.
That was so
But I've literally like it's been Wednesday night or like
Yeah.
Wednesday morning, and I called Derek. I'm like, yeah, this is not good enough. We have to like reshoot it. Like something's wrong with the audio or something's off with the pacing. I'm like, yeah, we got to rehit it.
Yeah.
And then we just like run
and
it.
we do.
Yeah, and then we run it, and then we make it better. But once again, I get
It's
validated.
a dance. It's a dance.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't think that's a terrible, awful thing. But there's probably a point. I think as people get older and you go to therapy, whatnot, you become more conscious. What I mean by that is all your conditioning, all your patterns of behavior, all your trauma, blah, blah, blah. It's all acting out, but there's this part of yourself that's just observing it.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's say when it's 2:30 in the morning and you're frantically editing a podcast, let's say you're 95% your conditioning, your patterns of behavior. And then there's 5% of you that's just aware.
Mhm.
You go, oh, I'm doing it right now. I'm doing that thing I was talking about on the podcast. I'm doing that thing that I talk about in therapy. I'm doing that thing that I know is rooted in my childhood experiences.
Yeah.
As that consciousness or that awareness starts to grow, it's like you're 90% your conditioning and 10% your awareness.
Mhm.
And that's how you start to kind of detach from this stuff. It's very rare that people just change like that.
Yeah, it takes.
Oh, I had some
so long.
intellectual insight. My dad did this, and now I'm like this, and boom, the pattern behavior's gone. I don't know if that ever happens. What it is kind of a gradual growing of self-awareness. And that self-awareness doesn't guarantee that you can just go then and snap your fingers and change yourself. But it's the start
Yeah.
of you going, I want to stay up and work on this, but I know it's probably good enough. It doesn't feel good enough. And the little boy's panicking about it. But, I know this is something I need to work on. And it's just like, I forgot why I started that rant in the first place, but
When you're at that 95% like like pattern behavior,
Yeah.
Gen Z call it locked in.
locked in.
So
Yeah.
he's fully
yeah.
locked into this.
Like
Was locked in a good thing in Gen Z slang?
it's seen as a good thing.
seen as a good
It's seen
thing.
as like putting your head down, shutting the fuck up, and working till it's
Locked
done.
That's not what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you guys, I mean,
Yeah,
but yeah, there's a time and place for that. And you guys have that, right? Like you have that, especially, or I don't know if that's fair to say. You probably have it too, but
lock in
we're-
significantly
yeah,
less
we're-
than him.
Yeah. But like that's just getting shit done and having. What I'm talking about is when you're acting from a place of neuroticism or trauma.
Yeah.
Where it's unconscious behavior, where you're, where you're freaking out at some random person from wherever the fuck who made some
Sorry
generic.
if I've ever flamed you
No,
guys.
you don't even have to apologize for it. But I'd say you're unconscious in that moment. You're conscious in that you're awake, but
Yeah.
you're not acting from the conscious, self-aware 22-year-old.
No.
It's that little boy who's hurt, who's kind of grabbed the wheel and start.
It just has to do it.
He's got to do
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And I have those moments. I'm not above any of this
You
stuff.
flamed some people in your days.
No, I'm not. I don't do the flame. In fact, what happened to me is I was getting chirped on TikTok.
oh shit.
And like there were these comments like, I hate the sound of this guy's voice, or da da.
You have a lovely voice. It's so relaxing.
Thank you. But and then what I did is I screenshotted it, and then I put it on my Instagram, and I put funny music to it, and then I put hashtag TikTok hate, and then I got a client from it.
Let's
And
go.
so I turned it around on them. I used the hate to be funny.
Yeah.
And then someone was like, "Ha ha ha! You're funny. I want to come to therapy with you." But I have my own wounds and whatnot. But that's not one of them. Like I'm not saying, "Look how great I am," but I don't care at all when people make those comments.
Well, I feel like I kind of low key have to go pee, but I'll just
Yeah,
say
yeah.
this before we take a pre break.
Yeah.
But like I get what you mean about the creeping up on you thing.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, I don't know why, but I always had these toy farm animals.
Yeah.
And when I was 4, I don't know what the fuck it was, but I had to carry them around with me constantly. And if I lost one, I would freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I was 7, I remember I was in an apartment with my mom, and every time I walked over a line, I felt a very weird urge to do a push-up. I don't know what it was.
That's how you're jacked.
Then when I was 12, I realized I got diagnosed with OCD.
Oh yeah.
And that was a battle that I had.
Yeah.
And before that, the battle I had was with my dad, and how that kind of relationship creeped up on me.
Yeah.
And then after OCD, it was oh, I'm 21, freaking out, calling Derek at 5 a.m. Maybe something's wrong with my anxiety.
Yeah.
And now that's the next battle.
What I find with OCD is it's almost always a lot of repressed emotion, right? And so I think repressed emotion will pop up in neurotic ways that don't always logically make sense. You know, logically, you don't have to do that push-up.
Yeah.
People with OCD know logically they don't have to wash their hands 15 times, or if they step on a crack in
Yeah.
on a
mom's
sidewalk.
back broke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they know logically that they don't need to do that. But if you look at it through the lens of emotion, is there's all this stored up neurotic emotion, and they find this little ritual or this little thing that they do that temporarily regulates their emotion.
Yeah.
And then it's like they become addicted to that.
It's a I forgot what the term is. It's a term that people with OCD have. Like if I have to like knock like this.
Yeah.
Compulsion.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, I
like
had a friend I worked with when we were growing up. We had a summer job, and every time he'd walk by wood, he'd tap it 3 times.
yeah, like and that compulsion is it weirdly makes you feel safer.
Exactly.
And obviously my compulsion is knocking on wood.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know, maybe even the way I edit. Like if I want to cut to a reaction shot of Derek, I have to hold on that for a certain amount of seconds or something. You know?
So what would it feel like if you didn't do that? Or like what
would,
does
like-
it? Let's say you hold off doing it. Let's
Yeah.
say your mind produces the compulsion to knock wood or whatever it is you do, and you say, okay, I'm not going to do it for 5 minutes. I'm just going to sit here and be with my body. I'm not going to distract myself. Like what's your internal experience?
When I was younger, it used to eat me up and like just tear me apart. Now I literally went like, once again, I went to therapy to work on my OCD. Now it's much easier, but obviously the more stressed out I get, the harder it is to
100%.
cope.
Yeah.
But now it's more chill. It's not the main battle I'm fighting anymore.
Yeah.
But it's still a battle. But when I was younger, I would like be like,
That's
Yeah,
all
oh,
happened.
yeah,
do a compulsion.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, especially when kids have OCD, it is sad. Like, I really don't take much on. Like some therapists burn out because they're just around pain and suffering all the time, and I really don't take it on, but that much. But OCD for some reason really gets to me, especially if the people are young. And I have to be careful with confidentiality here, but I worked once with an 18-year-old, so not that young, but pretty young. And I won't go into the details, but his life was really on hold and screwed up by OCD, and it was just so damn sad.
yeah.
You know, it really fucks with people.
It used to take me 10 minutes to walk across the house.
Yeah. Things. Well, that's what happened to this guy. Not that specifically, but like he just had so many rituals. He just couldn't do anything. So he's falling behind in life.
Yeah.
Because he just couldn't participate in life like most other people do. But you know, for me, OCD is similar to addiction. And it's similar to ADHD, and all these things are an issue of a person not being able to detach from their own mind.
Damn. I am up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's this saying in Buddhism or mindfulness that says, you are not your mind. And we have a mind, and we live with this thing, with this voice in our head and this kind of stream of consciousness. And until we learn to, that's the 5% I'm talking about. The 95% is your mind. The 5% is something deeper, something else. Okay. Until we learn to detach from our mind, we're just a slave to it. Your mind tells you to punch a hole in the wall, and guess what? You punch a hole in the wall.
Shit.
Your mind tells you to knock on wood 3 times.
I got to knock on wood
You
3
knock
times.
on wood 3 times. I work with a lot of people with addiction. Their mind tells them to snort a line of cocaine, to do this.
Yeah.
It happens. It's out there.
Guys,
right? And
it happens to the best of us.
it happens, you know, you trip and there you go. Do you want to take that pee break?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I
go.
forgot.
I'm so intuitive and empathetic.
I literally forgot.
could-
Back
We
from
all good.
pee
Back
break.
from pre-break. We were gonna go into, so like the other day, my girlfriend and my mom and we go out for dinner, and my girlfriend's like, hey, like, can I see pictures of me?
Yeah.
Like, can I see pictures of him when he was a kid? And that was like so triggering. When I look at pictures of me when I was a kid, it like hurts.
Damn.
I have clients do that actually. I get them to go. No. We were talking earlier about the inner child or the trauma.
The 10-year-old boy.
Yeah, that's
I don't like to
exactly-
see the 10-year-old
Well, I think
boy.
you're 22, you said?
Yeah.
I think what happens to people is we become an adult and we have these trauma responses or these wounds in us. But the 22-year-old Derek looks back at that period in his life, and I think he's somewhat disconnected from what it actually felt like to be 10 years old and to lose your dad, right? So there's a disconnect there. The emotion's still in the body, but the conscious mind, the adult, can't quite comprehend what it's like to be 10 years old and have your dad kill himself. And so to help people get in touch with that is I'll have clients, if they're willing. I never tell someone what to do, but I said, go find a picture of yourself at 10 years old. And usually what happens is what you talked about is you see that little punk 10-year-old.
That little bitch.
No.
My fault, gang. My fault, gang.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's cute.
He's a cute kid.
He's going through a lot. And the image of it makes it more real. And it's like, let's say there's a box in your psyche or your heart or your soul, if we want to get romantic about it. And that box is taped up really tightly. And on the box, it says dad. And that picture, what that picture starts to do is open up that box and the emotion starts to come out. So that's what's happening there, I think.
I feel like that's I feel like me and Derek experienced this as well, and like kind of relating to Derek. I don't know if it's necessarily photos of, actually it is a little bit, but it's more like scenery. Like me and Derek used to drive to pick up cigars whenever we had a special event.
Yeah.
But the cigar place, the cigar emporium, was very close to where me and my dad used to live.
Yeah.
And like that would like trip me out, and I know Derek we would be driving along, and it'd be like
SFU.
Yeah, he'd be like, I one time yelled at my mom in the car when we were driving here, and I like feel bad.
Well, your brain's all about associations, right? Like I had a client, I think I can tell this story, and
I can always cut it out if you choose not to later.
So his parents went through a divorce and they fucking hated each other.
Yeah.
And he was stuck in the middle. And that's the worst for a kid.
Playing double agent.
A divorce isn't that big of a deal if the parents respect each other. But if the parents hate each other and it's like team mom or team dad and the kid's in the middle, it can really mess them up. And the drop off for custody would be out of Tim Hortons. And so he would get out of his mom's car. And the mom and dad wouldn't talk, and he was this little 8-year-old boy, and the 8-year-old boy would have to get out and go into the other car.
Give me an ice cap while you're in there,
It was
bitch.
always at the Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
And then this guy was a young man, and he couldn't go to Tim Hortons without having a panic attack.
Respect, honestly,
Yeah,
that's
because
valid.
the brain associates Tim Hortons with that incredibly overwhelming, terrifying, or whatever emotion was going on there experience. And so he's an adult now, and he's not getting dropped off anymore, but still that his brain sees Tim Hortons, and boom, he goes back to that place. So that's the inner child there.
You got to challenge yourself and look at
Where's your
photos.
drop off? Where was your
My drop off was no, I literally just like dropped me off in front of my parents' house, and I used to be so happy to see my mom, and then when I would go see my dad, I would cry so much, and I would literally hold on to my mom, and my dad would have to grab me and like yank me off her.
What was it about your dad?
It's very, he's like, he low-key is like a stalker, so I'm gonna be like careful here, and he's like fucking, he figured out where I worked, and then
cut it out. Yeah.
But he's very more subtle in the way of emotional manipulation, and it's so hard to get validated on manipulation or abuse when it's not physical.
Yeah.
And it's only emotional because it doesn't show as hard externally.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to get validated on that. But it was very like, I just got gaslighted as a kid.
Sorry about that.
No worries, you're all good.
That guy gaslighted me.
Yeah, and he gaslighted Derek as well. And he
sounds like a narcissist.
very much so.
yeah.
Very much so. And it was kind of dealing with that, and that's also why I think I have a lot of anxiety as well, because I was just like literally emotional manipulated. Like I would see my dad probably 3.5 days out of the 7 days. I would be emotionally manipulated the whole time.
There's a book you should read. You should read the book called The Drama of the Gifted Child.
The Drama, the Gifted Child.
Yeah, I can text you that after this.
Thank you.
It's the best book I've read on this sort of stuff, and it's all about growing up with narcissistic parents or parents who kind of, you'll resonate with a lot of it, but it's the best one I've
Oh my
read.
God, we should totally get into self-help books.
I'm so down to
You
get into a self-help book.
should do a pod. Yeah, you should have like a really serious
Let's write one.
podcast. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Podcast about self-help and then kind of poke fun at it or something. But you guys are interesting because you have these kind of dual personalities where you're great with humor. You are very genuinely funny. You don't even have to try and be funny.
That's
You
my
just
boy.
are. But at the same time, you're quite intellectual and deep, right? And I was curious, today what the vibe of this conversation was going to be like. And you guys seem very willing to go into this stuff and to go deep and whatnot. And that's cool. People who are just sarcastic and funny, they're entertaining to be around.
Yeah.
But it's kind of at some point it gets a little a little older. It's like there's not much
There's no
there.
depth.
And so I appreciate, not that we have to get dark and you don't have to pour your hearts out to me and whatnot, but I appreciate your willingness to kind of sway between the two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what people don't realize about Nico and I, we're actually like so different.
Yeah, a lot of people used to say that we were like, oh,
So
we're
similar,
twins.
yeah.
And I think externally I can understand that because we literally went trauma bond together at the
Yeah.
same time and we didn't even plan that, right?
Yeah.
But I think we're super different, and I also think why we like work pretty well together
Yeah.
as well.
There's a balance there. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah, you're similar enough to kind of get each other
Mhm.
and you have similar experiences in some sense,
Yeah.
but you guys balance each other out with your differences.
Yeah.
I wanted to say this about relationships though. So here's kind of an observation I've had, and personally and professionally, is you don't choose who you're attracted to. Okay.
Wait.
Hold on. You don't, it's not a logical choice.
Yeah.
You don't choose who you're drawn to or who you're attracted to. And early on in your love life, you'll be drawn to partners who trigger whatever it is within you that needs to be triggered, that needs to be transcended and worked on, right? And you'll unconsciously put yourself in that same sort of situation over and over again until you learn whatever it is that you need to learn. Until you make the unconscious conscious and start to apply that learning to your life. But what's so cool is when people actually start to do that and they evolve as a person, the type that they're attracted to starts to evolve as well. They don't go chasing after the same type of toxic partner or whatever they did once they put in the work and change as a person. So it's almost like early on in our adult life, we have a destiny. We're drawn to the narcissist, or we're drawn to the hot girl, or we're drawn to whoever.
I'm so drawn to hot girls, sir.
A lot of people,
Drawn to
a lot
hot
of
girls
guys,
gang.
a lot of guys who didn't get the hot girl in elementary school or high school will be drawn to the hot girl early on in their 20s, kind of thing, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
that's not your destiny. That's just your work. And so it's like your failed relationships are the vessel through which you evolve. You have to go fuck up a bit and go chasing those sorts of people
Yeah.
in order to get to a point where you're no longer attracted or drawn to that. That's just, yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree in a sense that like I was in a relationship for like what
A year and a half?
where I just fucked up like every day,
Yeah.
like every
How
single
would you-
day.
how would you do that? Like, what was the theme or kind of your fucking up?
She was like, I don't know why, but I'm very I guess a pet peeve, or I'm very irritated at people that are slow and anxious. No offense. You're good. You're good.
Thanks, bro.
But like, I guess when people have anxiety, and I'm somebody that's always like, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. You're gonna die. No anxiety.
Yeah.
I dated someone, like one of the most anxious people I've ever met.
Yeah.
More anxious than me. That's saying a lot.
And then, but I'm the guy that's like, don't be anxious. It doesn't matter. And every time she was, it'd be an irritating thing for me, and I'd be irritated.
So consciously, she doesn't make sense, but there's something unconsciously that fit there or that
Yes.
worked there. So what do you think that is? Like, what with kind of withhold your logical mind and just kind of like, what did you like about her, or what did you like about that, about having a girlfriend who was hyper anxious? We know what you don't like about it. What do you like about
What did
it?
I like about it? I mean, I could say shit that could create like this emotional reaction in her, and it like fulfilled me somehow.
Or say more. Keep going with that.
Like if I was like, if she would, if I wanted to uninvite her or something, I'd be like, by the way, like you can't come.
Uh-huh.
And then she would have this reaction, and it didn't feel necessarily bad.
Yeah.
It felt like nice.
What
in a sense.
was, without judging yourself, what was nice about it?
I could get upset at her.
Uh-huh. A relief of maybe
Yeah.
a release of some of that anger or some of that energy that's bottled up or something like that, right?
And maybe to add on to that, and let me know if I'm wrong, but like I feel like this is something all young people go through, but it's inevitable to have a relationship that you're scared to leave. And it's like, oh, will another person like me maybe, or it's a very comfortable feeling to be in a relationship. And I think subconsciously, like you were trying to aggravate this person so they'd break up with you.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
God,
that
I
too.
did that. I did that.
Yeah,
I did that.
it's
So this
a
is
inevitable
common.
thing.
This is common. It's more common in men than women. I was talking about this last night, actually. Sometimes people are in a relationship and they don't want to face the scene of breaking up with their partner. And so they'll withdraw more and more, or they'll act in a certain way, which gets their partner to break up with them. Kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's a common
For
thing.
my
I
thing
did
was-
that in my 20s for sure.
You got to do it too, bro.
I gotta do it as well.
Totally
Gotta
gotta
do it.
What are you waiting for? It's fun. No, it's not.
It's for me, I did withdraw, but when I felt the sense that she would leave, I would always come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I was like a slingy or whatever,
Yeah.
a slinky.
So it's like there's an anger or something in you that's punishing her or pushing her or whatever.
But also, I didn't want to be alone.
Exactly. Well, that's it. And then it reaches a threshold where maybe she says, "Okay, fuck you," or she stops playing that game with you, and then something panics.
And then I was like, wait, I'm cooked right now.
yeah. Well, this comment, I'm not applying it to you. It does a little bit, but this is an extreme example. But men with avoidant attachment don't hit their girlfriends. Men with anxious attachment are the abusers, right? So what?
Sorry, bro.
What's going on here?
I'm an anxious attachment type.
But not all men.
No,
are
no.
anxious
Yeah.
attachment. What I'm saying is, guys who rough up their girlfriend or emotionally abuse their girlfriend, they do it from a place
Aaron,
of
could
fear.
you do it a little bit more?
Sorry.
Thank you so much.
They do it from a place of fear. I'm not making any excuses. There's no
Yes.
excuse whatsoever to do it. I'm just explaining, right? It's not the avoidant who's pushing away and afraid of intimacy who acts in that abusive, controlling way. It's the guy who's might present as a tough guy or something like that, but deep down he's anxious and scared. Right. And so you, again, this isn't you. I'm not saying you were abusive, but you were acting kind of a controlling, confrontational, angry way. And then she would walk away or whatever. And then you would completely change. You'd become anxious and go running back kind of thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, anger's usually a secondary emotion. Not always. Sometimes we're just legitimately angry. But when there's a lot of anger, especially in relationships or family and things like that, it's usually fear or sadness that's underneath it. And the anger's in proportion to that fear or sadness. But it's hard to deal with fear and sadness. So we go to anger. Anger's easy. Anger's pretty straightforward. You just yell at someone or hit someone or tell them to fuck off.
nice.
It feels good. It feels empowering.
Yeah.
We don't feel weak and smaller. You said earlier someone called me a pussy online, and I do kind of feel like a pussy. So if you feel like a pussy, it's going to feel really good to get angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm such a big masculine figure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how's that going now? Like, how are you applying
mean,
that in your new relationship, though? Like, I feel like you've put in a lot of work.
The thing is, I would always say I was an avoidant attachment type, but I am not in my current relationship. And I don't.
Are you anxious or are you secure?
I'm not secure. I guess I would be anxious.
I think avoidant attachment is anxious attachment, just manifesting itself in a different way.
Dang.
So I don't think there's a difference in the way it's presented, but I don't think avoidant attachment is some aloof, cool person who just wants to run around, you know?
Yeah.
I think avoidant attachment is anxious attachment. They've just gone in a different kind of direction with it, right?
Yeah, because I want to portray myself as like a, I guess, nonchalant person that's like, that lives this glamorous, unanxious life. But in reality, I don't think I'm the best boyfriend. Or in reality, I know that like she could leave me whenever I want because I'm actually kind of a pussy.
But I don't know if you're a pussy or not, but I'd say 80% of the game is just being aware of that. Like I have a therapist. He's 84 years old. He's the coolest guy. You guys should have him on. Actually.
Let's fucking go.
I'm gonna set that up.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
I'm gonna set up
We should
Larry
prank him.
Green, PhD in philosophy, 84 years young, and we're gonna bring him on.
What a guy.
We're gonna
What
bring
a
him on
guy.
BeerSos
Yeah.
But we shouldn't even do a
podcast.
therapy thing. We should do like a game show.
Just ask him nothing about therapy. Just he would walk out of here in 10 minutes. But he has a line where he told me, he says, all we have to work with is our attention, which I don't even know if that's really true or not, but it's a cool sounding line. And so you have certain patterns in you, and some of which aren't too pleasant to talk about or to acknowledge or to own, you know, and I could see in your body as you were talking about it that, well, your physiology shifted, and that's how, you know, that happened when we talked about your dad as well, right? So there's certain things that when you get into and start talking about your body, not you specifically, people's bodies shift, and all you can do is be aware that you have these patterns. I have patterns. My patterns are different than yours. And what you do is you become aware of them. And so now you're in a new relationship and you're putting in the work and you're trying to be different. But all that old stuff's going to come up.
Yeah.
And when it comes up, it's just, oh, there it is. And if you're conscious enough and aware of it, then you can start to make more conscious choices. It's like when that anger comes up. And it's not that you've gotten rid of your anger. It's just the anger comes up and you're aware of it and you're working on it or whatever. And then you go, here it is. And then you have a decision whether you punch a hole in the wall or not. But until you're conscious enough, you just punch that damn wall. And then after the fact, you calm down. You go, holy shit, I really lost my cool there.
Yeah.
But you can start to catch it early as your physiology changes. You can start to catch that emotion. Go, oh, I'm really ramping up now.
Yeah. Like I gotta relax.
I
like splash my face with water.
I gotta do something here.
Yeah.
Other than punch a hole in the wall. But yeah. So how's this new relationship for you?
It is really good. It's amazing. It's a very different relationship than I had before.
I'm laughing because like I saw Derek and his girlfriend speak to each other like a week ago or maybe 2 weeks ago, and like it was like baby talk, and like it was like cute romance baby, talk.
Is fire.
But I never thought Derek was capable of that. I never thought he was ever capable of that.
Yeah.
So it's just like it was jarring when I heard him go, "Oh, you hungry, baby?" I was like, "What the fuck am I listening to?"
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you do that, I'm gonna cook the shit out of you.
That's amazing. But that's what I think men particularly only really grow up through women.
Yeah.
I don't think a man
can
just
see
by himself, just soldiering on through life, he can, get in good shape and yada, yada, but he doesn't evolve much emotionally or spiritually or psychologically. It's in relationship, with another human being that someone starts to change and evolve. And maybe that's what's happening.
I would even say like my inner child feels so fulfilled in a sense that I can be so silly and childish.
What is it about her? Like, what? Two questions. One, is she similar to your previous relationship, or maybe you already said that she wasn't? Yeah.
No.
Okay. So, what is it about her? Like, what's she like that's allowing for that to happen? A lot of it's you're allowing it to happen, but there's something about her that's kind of making it easy for you or easier to.
She's calm.
Oh yeah.
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 That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because I'm very irritated. I get anxious, or not anxious. I get irritated and angry, even if it's like the room is a little bit too hot, and like I write a mean comment, and now all of a sudden I'm having a bad day. But she's calm.
So it's kind of like she embodies the qualities you're lacking, or maybe not lacking, but underdeveloped in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys have like a yin yang thing going on there. Cool.
Yeah, she's calm.
That seems to be a pattern in your life, though.
Bro, I love my yin and yang.
Let's go, y'all. Let's go.
You find the people. Yeah.
Like realistically, could I really get along with like a duplicate of me? No way.
I don't think most people can because they'll be fucking pissed off the whole time.
it's
Have
yang
you,
and yang.
you guys watch Seinfeld? Or are you too young for that?
I've watched a couple
There's
episodes.
an
The soup episode is fire.
Yeah. There's an episode where Jerry dates a girl who's exactly like him, and at first he's all enthusiastic about it. He thinks he's found the one, and then after a few dates, he goes, "This is an absolute disaster. I can't be with someone who's like me. I absolutely hate myself."
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I feel like that's also something that I've hoped to find as well.
What do you look for? What are you normally attracted to? Like what sort of qualities?
Like I'm not dating someone, but I've gone on a couple dates with someone who is more calm, and that's something I actually really like about them because like they'll and I feel like that's something me and Derek actually are similar with, and the people we're attracted to.
Yeah,
like we had plans to like go buy snacks or something. She's like, actually, can we go get sushi? I kind of want sushi. I was like, yeah, let's fucking go get sushi. And I really appreciated that, and how she kind of just is calm and will go with the flow and is like a de-stressor of sort, like a muscle relaxant. And
over the counter. You gotta make sure you put it over the counter. I don't want your viewers to think I'm hopped up on benzos or whatever it is. It's just some drug problem over here.
Over the alley.
alleyway. What? So when you're with her, like, do you feel like you can be yourself around her? Are you an anxious mess? Are you somewhere in the middle?
Like, not just projecting this right onto her, but into all potential romantic partners that I really see a lot of like a value in is like just transparency, just being yourself and putting it out there and being like, hey, this is me, take it or leave it. I really appreciate that level of honesty. I really appreciate that level of just vulnerability to be like, yeah, so I'm going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this now. It might be personal. It might not be. And I'm just going to say it.
Yeah, you guys are old souls. And like I made a comment earlier about Gen Z. I'm very impressed with Gen Z because I see a lot of Gen Z, you guys in particular, but I see a lot of Gen Z tackling things in their early 20s that me and my friends didn't tackle until our late 20s, early 30s kind of thing. But that's the whole name of the game. Yeah. Is what you're just talking about. So many people, I have so many clients who, I don't know if it's the number one reason they come to therapy, but relationships and dating, they're so anxious about it. and they're in a performance mindset. They think they got some pretty girl that they're going on a date with, or they've been on a few dates, it's going well, and they think, shit, I'm running out of funny stories. I'm running out of cool places to go.
Yeah.
And they're in this mindset of there's a performance to give, and the only way this girl's going to like me is if I can nail the performance.
Yeah.
And so there's a ton of anxiety. And they're in their head, and they're missing the actual human being in front of them. They've objectified them to some extent.
Or I even think, like, to add to that, it's like I use the word projected a lot, but like project a story onto them or a romantic element onto them. You know?
A fantasy.
Yeah.
You get a glimpse of them. You kind of get to know them, and then
you fill in the rest of your head.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But that's not who they are. They might be that. They might be more than that, right? So it sounds like with this woman, you're slowing down a little bit and just, like, when I come here today, I have something I want from this conversation. I want it to go well.
Yeah.
I would prefer it to go well than it to not go well, right? But I'm not attached to that outcome. I'm open to the possibility that we come here, you don't like me, or it's not what I thought it was, or the camera's not actually recording, or something like that. And because I'm not clinging to that outcome, there's very little anxiety, and I can just shoot the shit with you guys and we can naturally respond to what each other are saying. But if I come here and it has to go well,
and I have to marry her,
and and that's what happens. People, they start dating, and maybe the woman triggers their insecurities, but and they need for her to like him.
Yeah.
And so they get in this place where they're just too wound up, and they can't be themselves. And that woman that they're all anxious about has insecurities of her own.
Yeah.
And they're not actually talking to her. They're talking to some idea of what they want her to be. And then it starts to feel weird or creepy, or there's just not chemistry and it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And then the person interprets that as a sign of how terrible they are, and yada, 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 and away they go.
I think I've said this before. I like, my favorite part of a relationship is like, I want to skip knowing each other. I want to skip the honeymoon phase. Like, I want to just get to the part where we just dislike each other.
Yeah.
But we're like, that's like genuinely my favorite part. Because,
what do you mean
Because like it's just like,
resent each
it's
other.
just comfortability. I really like that.
Well, that sounds like your
aspect.
Childhood.
Shit. But I like that comfortable element.
Yeah. No, I know you're kidding.
And it's just like, I really prefer that. And just not even talking about the person that I've like gone on a couple dates with. We've gone on like 3 dates. It does not mean anything. I have learned to not get attached.
Yes. Well, that's the balance, right? I think some people take it the other direction, where they get attached too quickly. They get their heart broken, and they go, okay, non-attachment's the goal.
Oh,
and then
shit.
They go, right?
Yeah.
And it's about fun. You want to be attached. You want to be invested. If you've gone on three dates, and you've enjoyed yourself, and you really like this girl, it's like, lean into that.
Yeah.
Don't play it cool. I'm
gonna say,
But be careful that you don't, start planning the wedding yet.
No, yeah.
Because what happens then is, on the other end of that, and I've been on both sides of this, the other end of that, your attachment for the other person starts to feel like it doesn't have anything to do with them. Like, it has to do with you, right? So if you go on let's say you go on a couple dates with a girl, and she gets really attached to you.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, it happens. It happens a lot. And it will start to feel like this attachment she has is about her. It's not that you're so amazing and wonderful that she's becomes, it's like there's something going on in there.
Yeah.
We all have our stuff, so, you don't judge her too harshly. But it's just this kind of feeling of, there's something going on in there, and I don't know if I really want to be along for the ride when that.
Yeah, it's like, why is this person love bombing me? I've talked to them for a total of 6 hours.
Daddy issues is crazy.
Don't know their last name and their and whatever. So But again, the fact that you guys are at the age you are and you're aware of this, like, this was just all playing out for me and my friends. We weren't thinking we weren't sitting around on podcasts reflecting. I was just out there, pushing people away.
Yeah.
Not letting them in, all this sort of stuff. Then I read up when I'm like 29 about avoidant attachment. I go, shit, that sounds familiar.
We got a jump start.
That sounds familiar. Yeah.
Do you feel like that's common with like everyone like younger people that you used to?
It's more common in Gen Z. You guys seem to have really leaned into it and very self-aware. But Gen Z is way ahead of where my generation is. Gen Z is a little soft.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I'm a man with feelings.
But they're more, no, I don't mean it that way. I just mean, I don't know what I mean exactly. It's just fun to tease you guys. But Gen Z is way more ambitious. Gen Z wants what they want from life, and they're going out and kind of getting it. I would say my generation's not really wired that way. Some people are, but like we talked about at the start, the 9 to 5. My generation, okay, that's what life is.
Yeah.
Whereas Gen Z goes, fuck that. Since you've been 15 years old, you've been watching YouTube of people who have, are just making I'm going to do that. That's what my life's going to be. I'm not going to sit in an office for 9 to 5. And so Gen Z's more ambitious, and they kind of go for it more and make their life into what they want it to, or at least try to.
3 bros on a podcast being enlightened.
Yeah, I feel enlightened.
I feel enlightened by being around you guys. Yeah.
Are we are we like your children?
We're in the market for
we're in the market for a dad.
I loved your video of a white stepdad.
Good video.
You guys are so fun. You really are. You have something special. I would just keep doing what you're doing, and I wouldn't be too strategic. I would just be yourselves, because it works.
It works.
And that's why it works. And the bigger it gets, I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but the bigger it gets, I assume the more neurotic, or the more you'll overthink it, or think you have to be. But this works. Just keep this, because it's the dynamic between you two, and it's natural.
Yeah, and you can't find
and
that.
so that's why when you gave me that homework and told me to go study, study 2 of your podcasts, I was like, I'm not going to do that.
The original idea was for Aaron to diagnose us.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. We talked about
and then I was gonna send him 2 episodes to listen to study us, but it was homework.
Your first message was, I've been stalking you, and for a while
I was.
I was. And then the second message was, I'm gonna send you 2 lengthy podcasts for you to study on your own free time, and then to cut. But anyway,
I'm sorry, guys.
You have to fall asleep listening to it.
What you guys are good at is just showing up, and you're very intuitive, I think, or it's very kind of responsive to each other, and so that's cool. I think you guys should just keep doing that. Yeah.
Well, Aaron, we appreciate you coming on.
Pleasure.
Let's
do it again at some point.
Let's do it. Well, I mean, we're gonna do
Aaron
it again in
Johnstone
2 minutes
2.
because we're gonna take it to the Patreon now.
Right.
But Aaron, if people want to know more about you, bro, where can they go to? That's like a
go
genuine question I have right now.
Go to Aaron Johnstone Therapy on Instagram. Or TikTok, but I'm more of an Instagram guy.
We're more Instagram.
So Derek's
guys.
promoting that Jeff guy on Instagram.
Don't fuck that Jeff guy.
Don't go, whoever Jeff is, don't follow him. Follow me. That's all you need.
Now there's gonna be influencer therapist beef.
Yeah.
We're starting some beef.
We're gonna stir up the scene now.
Yeah, I'm just kidding, Jeff. I don't know you. I'm sure you're a good guy.
Okay, love you, Jeff.
Okay,
And
love you, Jeff.
we got more coming on the Patreon. Link in bio. You know where to find it.
Yeah, come on,
it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
And everyone comment.
Everyone comment.
Therapy.
Aaron Johnstone is ripped.
Sure.
Everyone comment. Aaron Johnstone, my dream physique.
Okay, we're done.
BeerSos.